Good day, everyone. Welcome to Global Academy Institute Technology Foundation Incorporated. Today, our topic for second quarter, week 2 is chemical bonding. Valence electrons. Valence electrons are the electrons involved in forming bonds to form compounds. It is important that you know the valence electrons so that you can illustrate how bonds are formed. It is good that you have found out that metals have low electronegativity and nonmetals have high electronegativity because this property plays an important role in forming compounds. The nature of the interaction between the atoms depends on the relative electronegativity. Electronegativity is a measure of the tendency of an atom to attract electrons. The higher its value, the higher its tendency to attract electrons. Chemical bonds are formed when valence electrons, the electrons in the outermost electronic shell of an atom, interact. Chemical bonds are forces that hold atoms together to make compounds or molecules. It is the connection between atoms in a molecule. These bonds include both strong intramolecular interactions such as covalent and ionic bonds. Atoms with the largest electronegativity differences, such as metals bonding with nonmetals, the bonding interaction is called ionic, and the valence electrons are typically represented as being transferred from the metal atom to the nonmetal. Once the electrons have been transferred to the nonmetal, both the metal and the nonmetal are considered to be ions. The two oppositely charged ions attract each other to form an ionic compound. Example of ionic bond: magnesium and fluorine combine to form an ionic compound. Magnesium most commonly formed as 2 positive ion. This is because magnesium has 2 valence electrons and it would like to get rid of those 2 ions to obey the octet rule. Fluorine has 7 valence electrons and usually forms the F ion because it gains 1 electron to satisfy the octet rule. When magnesium 2 positive and fluorine negative combine to form an ionic compound, their charges must cancel out. Therefore, one magnesium 2 positive needs 2 fluorine negative ions to neutralize the charge. Covalent bonds are a class of chemical bonds where valence electrons are shared between 2 atoms, typically 2 nonmetals. The formation of a covalent bond allows the nonmetals to obey the octet rule and thus become more stable. For example, fluorine and carbon. A fluorine atom has 7 valence electrons. If it shares 1 electron with a carbon atom, which has 4 valence electrons, the fluorine will have a full octet, its 7 electrons plus the one it is sharing with carbon. Carbon will then have 5 valence electrons, its 4 and the one it's sharing with fluorine. Covalently sharing 2 electrons is also known as a single bond. Carbon will have to form 4 single bonds with 4 different fluorine atoms to fill its octet. There are 2 types of covalent bonds: the polar bonds and the nonpolar covalent bonds. If the electronegativity difference is equal to 0.4, it results to a nonpolar covalent bond. If the electronegativity difference is less than 1.9 and more than 0.4, polar covalent is formed. Thank you for listening and God bless.